Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in Peckville, and I am here every week on this station to bring you, the landowner, the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. And I only, in case you forgot, only represent landowners and oil and gas right owners. I do not, have not, will never represent an oil, gas, or pipeline company. Never have, never, ever will. I represent landowners in all matters related to oil and gas development, including but not limited to, there's our lawyer speak for the day. Well, there's more to come. Gas lease negotiations, pipeline agreements, pipeline agreements, royalty and royalty deduction issues, surface use agreements, oil and gas related transactions, buying, selling oil and gas rights. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, just a little, but I'm going to say if you are selling or considering selling your oil and gas rights, going to go commercial right off the bat, call my office, schedule a review and consultation. I do these over the phone all the time. Sometimes the clients are in Texas, sometimes Alaska, sometimes Micronesia, but we do them all the time, so don't be afraid of distance. But if you are considering selling your oil and gas rights, call the Clark Law Firm. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the market. Let's make sure it's the right decision for you. And then make sure that you're going to enter into the best possible deal, the best possible agreement. I'm going to go ahead. I'll jump into a little quick aside. Just in the last couple weeks, had a client, landowner, call, oil and gas right owner, really bad situation and has to sell some oil and gas rights. First, we talk about, do you really need to do this? Is there any other way we can work around this? Because I think this may not be in your best interest in the long run. However, there are times that in the short run, people are in circumstances where they need some money in the short term, and they don't know when they're going to start receiving royalties, if ever. So it can make sense, but I maintain that it only makes sense in a unique and a small set of circumstances that most people are not in. That patience, in this case, truly is a virtue if you can afford to be patient. And real quick, patience can be a virtue in holding off signing a terrible oil and gas lease. Let's give a quick example. Maybe a 10-year lease, maybe 12.5% royalty, maybe full deductions. Maybe you want to try that patience is a virtue thing there. Remember, not specific advice. We should talk about it. But as a general rule, be super hesitant, careful. Use your strictest scrutiny. Do whatever you can to really decide, do I want to sign a 10-year gas lease with full deductions and also at the state minimum royalty? State minimum royalty. Cannot, you as a landowner, listen closely. This is great advice. It was a great truthful statement. As a land and oil and gas right owner, you cannot do worse than 12.5% royalty. You can't, under any possible circumstances in Pennsylvania, you cannot do worse. Can't do worse than 12.5% royalty. On top of that, not only can you not do worse than 12.5% royalty, you can't do worse than 12.5% royalty plus giving the company the full and total ability to take complete total deductions. You can't do worse than that. Just know that. You cannot do worse than that. It is impossible. It is absolutely impossible. So throw on top of that a 10-year lease, and you need to, if you're not asking questions, my gosh, you need to be asking those questions. I was going to try not to get too fired up today. I have a little voice issue. But it's too late, because I'll tell you, once again, look, I'm here it is. We're going to have this kind of show today. Didn't really plan on it, but we're going to have this kind of show because It's killing me. It is absolutely killing me that we're still out there, that landowners are still out there afraid to talk maybe to an attorney and get some advice for whatever reason. But most importantly, and don't be afraid. Again, I do these reviews and consultations routinely, an hour to 2 hours at a top. And we were talking about 2 hours at work routinely, that's what we do. So we need to get you that information. And I've done so many of these, and never once is at the end of the call, the landowner said, oh, geez, what the heck did I do that for? No, but on the flip side, and this isn't to say that I'm again, I don't want to say, oh, this guy, what's he think of himself? But the truth is I do this all the time. So you don't need to be the smartest. I don't need to be Albert Einstein. I need to have some basic level of intelligence and this experience and dealing with all different kinds of landowners, all different companies, all across Pennsylvania. And we've learned what to do. We've learned the techniques of the companies, the techniques of the landman. We've seen development. We've seen how some companies treat landowners after they sign agreements. So we talk about all these different things are relevant, and then you decide how you want to go forward. And look, I've represented clients who sign agreements all the time. That's what we do. We negotiate agreements. Landowners, clients sign agreements. Happens all the time. However, not every agreement should be signed. Quite to the contrary, many agreements absolutely should not be signed. They're terrible agreements that you'll regret, not only in the near future, but potentially into future generations. And that's happened all over. I mean, we see it all the time. I see it in my office. I see it all the time. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm right here on this station every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. to bring you the information that you need, the landowner, regarding oil and gas development here in Pennsylvania. Okay, I'm going to get back to the patience being a virtue some more here today. But I'll tell you, that's just sparked me. It made me think of something else. Something else had just happened. Okay, last couple weeks, get a call from a former client that I did a pipeline right-of-way agreement with. Client says, and I'm going to tell you, it was a very good, nice, good agreement for the landowner. And we got a lot more money than was offered. We got a lot stronger terms. And one of the terms were that we said that you have to make this option payment within a 15-month period. 15 months. So here we are at the end of the 15-month period. Company says, oh, hey, landowner, we're going to pay you. We want to extend this. And say, I'm going to use hypothetical numbers. These are not the actual numbers. And I think I can say that these numbers are high. The actual numbers were higher. But I like round numbers. So we're going to say that in subsequent payment, the option payment was supposed to be, when it's due, it's going to be $100,000, say. So, again, we're going to talk hypothetically, but this will kind of mirror a story. So, okay, we're going to get $100,000 when if the company exercises the option. So now here comes the option date. Company says, oh, hey, landowner, we need to try to extend this. Of course, they go to the landowner because they're hoping the landowner will just hurry up and sign. We need to extend this, and we're willing to offer you, let's say, $5,000. Landowner says, well, that's not that much money. You want to extend it for a significant amount of time, longer than what our original agreement even called for, meaning longer than 15 months. So you want to extend this contract. $5,000, that's not going to do it. Let's say let's say the landowner wants $30,000, but the company says, okay, yeah, we'll give you $30,000. So right there, 5 to 30 in this example. That happened. So the landowner is talking to them. So ultimately then, landowner comes to me, sends me the paperwork, says, hey, I've been dealing with these guys, and here's where we're at. And you know what? I've got nervous now. I'm not ready. I don't think I wanted you to look at this. Before I sign this, look at this. And look at it, and I say, oh, my heavens. First off, in my opinion, this isn't enough money. But more importantly, the money that you're going to receive is going to be deducted or taken away, subtracted from the subsequent payment. So in our hypothetical example here, we're going to have a $100,000 payment for exercise of option. Now, if you get $30,000 today, and when it comes time, let's say in 2 years for the remaining payment, do you still get $100,000 or do you only get $70,000, meaning $100,000 minus the $30,000 you're given today. Well, that would mean that it's just an advancement of your payment. Well, is that what you want? Is that what you bargained for? Also, what is your leverage? Is that a position? Does that make sense and a good deal for you? In my opinion, clearly not. So say, landowner, hey, what about the idea that if you're going to extend, that any money you receive now would not be subtracted or taken away from a future payment? Meaning that you get the money today, and if they don't use if they use the agreement in the future, they still have to give you $100,000. So if you got $30,000 today, then you get another $100,000 in the future. Bottom line, you would have just made $30,000. So a phone call, little discussion, some communications could result in $30,000 increase. So you need to explore that. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details in this particular case, in too much detail about a particular case, but I'm going to say we were able to secure a significant payment not to be deducted. So landowner just signs a document, doesn't fully understand, has been coached, educated, and informed by the landman who, as we all know, works for the company, not you, the landowner. Works for the company, not you, the landowner. So is the landman going to say, hey, you know what? You should ask for money today that's not going to be deducted. Well, I'll tell you this. First, if they're saying something like that to you, well, they're probably unethical to begin with, because they shouldn't be saying that, because they represent the company and their job is not to teach you how to do a better deal. That's not their job. And if they're saying that to you, then you need to be even more careful, because perhaps the company even said, hey, we'll give them this money. We won't subtract it, but don't tell them that at the beginning. Let's go first and say, however you want to play it. So the landman may say, again, this is hypothetical, may say, hey, look, guys, they want to give you $20,000, say, but hey, how about you ask for it being not deducted from the back end, and then that'll be a nice hit for you. Well, maybe that was what they were doing the whole time. And so you said, wow, boy, thank heavens we got this great landman. He told us this, and wow, we just made another $20,000. Well, hey, if you truly negotiated at arm's length, maybe you would have got $30,000. Maybe you would have got $40,000. Maybe none of it would have been deducted from the back end. Maybe you could have negotiated additional and better terms to your original agreement. All of those things could be possible. So please be careful. Be careful. Be careful, and I'm going to blast more, relying on the company landman because they work for the company. Think about it. Everybody knows this. I mean, everyone understands. They work for the company. They work for the company, not you. You're listening to Attorney Doug Clark. This is All Things Marcellus. I'm here with you every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. right here on this station, and I'll be back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me right here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. Every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. And remember, I have now been doing All Things Marcellus for over 6 years. Over 6 years I've been doing the weekly radio show, All Things Marcellus. Also, I want to remind everybody, today's show will be up and available tomorrow, Monday morning. You can go back and listen to today's show. If you can't catch the end, you missed the beginning. Also, hours and hours and hours of radio shows available on the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Take advantage of the websites, whether you're looking for representation or information. Not looking for representation, but looking for information, go to pagasleaseattorney.com and pipelineattorney.com. Read the materials, listen to the prior radio shows. There is so much very good information. Hey, look, I control it. So I know there's good information out there. Check it out, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Okay, let me get back to it. Let's go. We're going to stick with our theme. Shocking theme today. Be careful relying on the company landman, because why? I hope people just say it in unison. I'd love to hear that. Why? Because The landman works for the company, not you. They do not work for you. They work for the company, not you, the landowner. So I'm giving my example based on a situation that I've recently encountered where landowner gets an offer and is close to signing the offer, but thankfully for them, they called the office, said, hey, will you take a look at this? And the first thing I said is, oh boy, please, I hope you didn't sign this. Put your pen down, because I think you can do a lot better than this. And in fact, after a week or two of time, considerably better is the result. And again, yeah, I'd like to think that I'm good at what I do. I would like to think that. But at the same time, I also know that I have a lot of experience in this, and I have experience to see what companies do, what type of positions they're in, and what type of leverage that you may have. And leverage assessment, I can't say it enough. Leverage assessment is key in negotiations, in considering whether an agreement is right or wrong for you. You have to be able to assess your leverage. And I assure you, the landman for the company is not going to give you a leverage assessment that you need for your side in this situation. Why? Because they work for the company. Of course, they're not going to do that. So what do you need to do? You need to understand your leverage. I speak with landowners all the time. Many times, in the vast majority of cases, I would say, the landowner does not fully understand and appreciate their leverage. Whether sometimes they think they have more leverage than what they have, which can be very dangerous to the landowner, and sometimes when they think they have a lot less leverage than what they have, which also can be very dangerous to the landowner. Underestimating your leverage can result in you signing, in cases, terrible agreements that you're stuck under for the next century or more. Also, not just you, your family, or whoever owns the property or rights after you. So you have that. Or you can sign an agreement for considerably less money than what you should be receiving for that agreement. So if you're presented with a $5, $10, $15 pipeline right-of-way agreement, you better darn well know your leverage before you sign one of these agreements, because I don't remember any recent time where I've ever had a client sign any time recently. And if there was, it's been very rare, or don't want to get too into these pipelines now, or maybe there can be cases where it's just a direct line right to the well site that we narrow in. And in those cases, you can actually, it's a leverage issue. Certain cases, you don't have the leverage. So if it's a pipe literally going directly to your well site and nowhere else, and it's written properly, so they can't tie into it, they can't build other lines, they can't run other pipelines from this easement, then you may have to take $15. However, that's just not normally what these agreements are. So don't get hung up on that. And landowners can be very tricky, where landowner thinks because they're told we can do this under the pipeline, right, or under your gas lease, when in fact they can't, or they're never going to, because if the gas lease expires in almost all of them, the right to have the pipeline there expires. I deal with clients in Tioga County. They sign gas leases, then they sign pipeline right-of-way agreements, then the gas lease lapses, and now the company has a pipeline right-of-way agreement. The people have no gas lease, and the company says, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to give you this blistering offer of 10 years, 10-year lease, only company out there, only place in the state that I see this regularly offered, only place in Pennsylvania, 10-year lease, 12.5% royalty, full deductions. It's the only place. Think about it. 2005, 2006, when people were getting $25 an acre, $10, $50, $60, you were still getting 5-year leases. Now we have proven reserves. We've seen what companies can do. Companies are out bragging, oh, look at these great wells we have. But yeah, landowner, we can only give you a 10-year lease. We can only give you 12.5% royalty because the market is bad. It's a bad market. Well, then why sign? You as a landowner, why sign a 10-year lease in a down bad market for the lowest possible royalty allowed by law? Allowed by law. Now, look, maybe you want to sign it. I'm just saying you need to ask yourself why? Why would I sign a pipeline right-of-way agreement for five? It's laughable to me. I'm sorry, but it is. $10 per foot, $15 per foot. Why? Why do that? Why do that? And I know what the answer is. It's because the company landman told me such and such, and it seems like this is in my best interest. Or the company told me, well, yeah, that's what they're paying. Well, you know what? When people signed at $50 an acre, when people signed really bad agreements, the company said, that's what we're paying. Then, months later, people were signing for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and ultimately up to $6,000 per acre or more for gas leases, from 12.5% to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and in some cases, 21% royalty. 21% royalty. 21% royalty. But now that we have proven reserves, now that we know gas is there, now that we've seen gas being produced, now we should sign as a landowner. You should sign. Well, no, I don't want to say you should. You're being asked to sign agreements for 10-year leases with the lowest possible royalty percentage allowed by law. And by the way, we're going to take every deduction allowed by law as well. And ask the landowners today and in the last several months, ask those landowners who literally are having gas removed from wells that are servicing their property, that landowners, I mean, I know it sounds unbelievable, but what I'm going to tell you is completely true. There are landowners in Pennsylvania who have gas being pumped from wells in their units, wells, in some cases, on their property, horizontal wells that are producing gas, massive amounts of gas in most cases, that those wells are producing gas. Company takes the gas, they pipeline it, they take it through the pipelines, they pipe it to market, they sell the gas. Landowner says, okay, there's my monthly royalty check. Company says, well, after deductions for the pipeline cost and these post-production costs, gathering, pipeline transportation, compression, once we subtract or take these deductions, sorry, landowner, you get zero royalty. So what do I mean? You say, what in the world is he talking about? He's lost it. No, I haven't lost it. Never. I'm not going to lose it. But what am I saying? Here it is. They're saying that, yeah, we took the gas to market and we sold it for $1. This is an example. These are numbers, again, nice round numbers. Company says, yes, landowner, we sold your gas for $1, but it cost us in deductions, in totals, in these gathering fees, pipeline fees, compression fees, it cost us $1 or more in fees. So we take that dollar price, we subtract or deduct these costs, and at the end of that, you landowner are left with zero. Maybe you're left with 10% of what the royalty could have been if there were no deductions taken. But listen, I'm not making this up. There are many landowners in Pennsylvania over the past year who have had gas produced and not receive a royalty check from a company because the costs overrode, were greater than. After deductions, there were no royalties at all for the landowner. Now, thankfully, that's not across the board in the state. So if you're getting royalties to say, wait a second, I have deductions, I'm getting a check. I am not saying by any means that this is everywhere, but it is occurring. And landowners out there who are getting checks and seeing these deductions understand the impact. Understand the impact of these deductions. They say, wow, my royalty would have been $5,000 this month, but after deductions, I get $1,000, or maybe I get $500. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I get $2,000. But deductions have a tremendous impact. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So I want to say, look, deductions can have a tremendous impact, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to negotiate a gas lease that eliminates all deductions. I want to say that again. In today's market, it is very rare that you can negotiate a lease to eliminate all deductions. Not impossible, but not something that's occurring across the board everywhere, which again, you need to know, what does this company do? What are other companies doing? What is my leverage to negotiate? And I assure you, you could be in a totally different leverage position than your neighbor. I don't care how many leases your neighbor signed or some other guy, girl, whatever that you talk to. That is not enough of a sample size. You need to know more. You need to have a broader base of history and experience to learn from, not just your neighbor, not the guy at the diner, not the guy at the gas station, not the guy who's works for the state. You need more information. Whether it's me or somebody else, get an attorney experienced in oil and gas issues that will fight for you, that will educate and inform you and guide you to make the right decision for your specific situation. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm here with you right here every week from 8 to 9 a.m. on this station, and I'm going to be back after yet another important message. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Once again, every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m., join me right here for All Things Marcellus. Okay, so I want to get back to talking about the last segment, about the impact that deductions can have. So I want to stress again, I cannot and will not say to you, and I couldn't say it, that you can negotiate and eliminate deductions in all cases. And in fact, today, that's a really tough thing to do. Also today, many people are signing agreements and have in the last year that think they have no deductions, and they're going to be unpleasantly surprised if they receive a royalty check, because when they do, there's a strong likelihood that deductions will be taken. Royalty calculation language can be extremely complicated and confusing. I say that, look, I'm a lawyer. This is what I do. This is all I'm doing. And what do I find? I get language sometimes. I get done reading. I read it 4 or 5 times, and I say, I don't know what this means. I read these contracts, the terms all the time. I read this. I say, I don't even know what it means. How in the world can a landowner understand what this means when I can't even figure it out? So you need to be super careful. So what do we do there? Well, we address it. We get it changed. We look to make it more simple. Or we say, hey, look, here's what it looks like it means. It means you're going to have deductions taken. That's what it's going to mean. So let's communicate. Let's find out, how's the company interpreting this. Let's present alternative language that people can understand that would say no deductions, if indeed that's what the company is trying to do, which, maybe they're not trying to do, but maybe they want you to think that you're going to have no deductions. You got to be careful. There is a specific royalty provision being offered routinely by a company in Tioga County, or it was offered routinely, not so much now. Let me clarify. So it was routinely offered, entitled royalty without deductions. That's the title of the term. Okay, who wouldn't read that and say, wow, all right, I will receive royalties without deductions. Look, I can read that. Any person in the world can read that. What do I need a lawyer for? Right here it is. Royalties without deductions. Give me my pen. Let me sign this. Well, let me tell you, I can rattle off a list of companies that will absolutely take full deductions under this language. So you have language that you're getting in a lease that says royalties without deductions. What does that mean? Well, it means in some companies' interpretation, and I mean many companies' interpretation, It means that, yeah, we're not going to deduct anything from your royalties from the ground to the surface, because the second we move that gas from the top of the well, from where it comes out of the ground, once we start moving that, we're going to charge you for that, or you're not going to get that benefit. Okay, what do I mean? Company says, here's the example, no deductions to make the gas what they call ready for sale or use. Company says, so that's the heading. This is abbreviated, but this is what it means. The heading says royalties, no deductions. Underneath says to the effect, the relevant part says that there will be no deductions for gathering, transporting, compressing, marketing, and so on in order to make your gas ready for sale or use. Okay. Then it may have another sentence that says that your gas will be delivered free of costs into the pipeline. Well, what pipeline are we talking about? So many companies say the second your gas comes out of the earth, it is ready for sale or use. Therefore, once we move that gas off of that well pad, that is now enhancing the value of gas that is ready for sale or use. So they may semantics say, well, we're not taking deductions. We're just giving you the price when the gas comes out of the ground. And yeah, it's free of cost into the pipeline, but that pipeline is the pipeline connected to your well. So it's extremely misleading. Royalty without deduction. Yeah, well, I guess there's no deduction because they say your gas is ready for sale or use immediately. It literally, in cases like that, has no meaning whatsoever. Means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. But you have to understand the case. Again, this is generalities here. You have to know your case. You have to know your company. Maybe your company, as of today, does not take deductions when you have this language in your lease. However, within the past 6 months, actually within the last couple months, I've confirmed that one company, and guys, I'd like to hear from you if this applies to you. I've confirmed of one company that said, yeah, we used to not take deductions with this type of language, but we've decided now we're going to change our mind, and we believe that we can take deductions. And so therefore, we have paid you as if we weren't allowed to take those deductions. So we want that money back. Imagine this. We want that money back. So over the last year, 2 years that we paid you and we weren't taking deductions and we were giving you royalties without any of these deductions, well, when we add up those deductions, you owe us $25,000. So what are we going to do? We're not going to pay you any royalty until we recoup or make up that money that we paid you, that we've now decided a year or two later that, hey, we don't have to do this this way. So let's quit paying them royalties without taking these deductions. Let's give them the wellhead price. And let's go back from the beginning when we started paying them royalties and all the deductions that we didn't take. Let's say they owe us that money because we could have taken them, but we didn't. And we'll now subtract and we won't give them any royalty until we get our money paid back. Listen, this just happened that I've determined. I've been able to, I have it in writing. I know exactly what happened. So if this is a call out to anyone out there listening, if you recently had a company, I don't care recently, if you've ever, but this has been occurring more recently this year, if you had a company who is paying you royalties without taking deductions, who has now started to take deductions, I do want to hear from you. 570-307-0702. I really want to hear from you. 570-307-0702. If you have a company who is recouping royalties because they didn't take deductions in the past and now they're saying they can and they're going to do that, I want to hear from you. I am really diving into this and investigating this because I think there's something wrong. So 570-307-0702. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So I want to get back and say again, okay, Let me circle around. Is doing a little jumping there. I apologize, but it gets fired up sometimes. So, okay. I want to come back to, remember my situation. I was talking about your offer to lease. And that lease says royalty, no deductions. And then you look under and you say, oh, geez, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Remember, just because it says that doesn't mean that you're going to get paid, well, at least what we take as royalty without deductions. The companies say, oh, no, we're giving you royalty without deductions. But what you call deductions, we call enhancements. And so therefore, we're going to give you not the price we sell it at. We're going to take the sell price. We're going to deduct the enhancements, meaning the transportation, gathering, and compression fees, and we're going to give you the lower royalty, the wellhead price. Guys, too many people think we want the wellhead price. You do not want the wellhead price. You want the price at the point of sale to an unaffiliated third party. You don't want the price that the company is selling to itself. You don't want an affiliated sale where a company sells it to its affiliate and then gives you that price. That's not the price you want. You want the price, the legitimate market transaction price, where the company sells it to an unrelated third party, where both companies are fighting and negotiating, one to get the highest price they can to sell the gas, the other trying to fight to get the lowest price in order to pay for the gas. That's the market. That's the price you want. That's going to be your best price, not the wellhead price, or not the price where a company is selling the gas essentially to itself. You want the third-party price. Too many people are confused on that issue. We need to get that information out there as well. So I was saying that just because we say these deductions can be really bad, and they certainly can be, but you might not be able to negotiate them out, and you may have to agree, or the company just won't agree to a contract or a lease unless you agree to allow deductions. And that's, again, you need to look at your specific situation. You need specific advice. Companies aren't going to typically lead with, oh, we won't give you any deductions. Or if they do, be careful, because you may think it means no deductions, but in reality, you're going to be later on very disappointed. So if you can't get a lease and you can't get language that says no deductions from my royalties, well, then what do we want to do? Well, you look at everything else, as always. You look at everything in your lease and decide, is this the right deal for you? And I've had many clients sign leases that allow for full and total deductions. However, I certainly can say that I haven't had very many clients sign leases that allow for full and total deductions, the maximum amount of deductions that can be taken by law. And on top of that, we're going to give you 12.5% royalty, which is the lowest royalty percent allowed by law. Oh, and by the way, you're going to give us a 10-year commitment. I can tell you, I haven't had very many people sign that type of an agreement, but I can also tell you, unfortunately, in my opinion, too many people are, and I don't think it's right for most people. But again, this is not specific legal advice for anyone. My best specific legal advice is you should get specific advice for you, not from the landman who works for the company, not from them, but from an attorney who is experienced in oil and gas related issues. You need to be informed and educated with what you need to know. And sample sizes from looking at your neighbors and leases around you, I assure you, is not enough. You need to get that information. And I know, again, a bit commercial, but I do those reviews and evaluations because I love to get this information, because you can hear even on the phone, and you're always welcome to come to the office, but you can hear in the phone people saying, oh, wow, thank God I didn't know that. I didn't know this. Well, of course you didn't. Who's going to tell you? Somebody on the other side? Who's going to tell you? No, the person working for you is going to tell you. And I can't stress too, I've had clients, we've signed hundreds and hundreds of gas leases, negotiating gas leases right now that I fully anticipate that my clients are going to sign with different companies in Pennsylvania. I've done, I don't know how many pipeline right-of-way agreements. I say, and I've represented, consulted, negotiated, worked on pipeline right-of-way agreements with over 60 different, not 60 agreements, 60 different companies. 60 different companies. Again, the point is, information is out there. We need to grab it. We need to learn from it, and we need to make sure that you're signing the best possible agreement. And before you sign any gas lease at the state minimum, you need to say, why am I going to do this? Why am I doing this? Then you need to say, okay, if I'm going to sign a gas lease with full deductions, why am I doing this? Why? And you may have an answer to that. Then you say, well, this is a terrible gas leasing market. Price of gas is so very low. It's been decade low recently, a small recovery now. Who knows where it's going in the near term? Who knows where it's going? I mean, that's the truth. But we think it's probably going to go higher. So we think that, do we want to commit now to 10 years? Be under a contract of 10 years for the lowest possible royalty allowed in Pennsylvania, with the complete and total deductions being taken from your royalty payments? Is now the time to sign such an agreement? Is it? Ask those questions. Again, not specific legal advice, but advice to ask these questions. And maybe it is the right time, but for most people, it's not going to be. But maybe for you, it might be. And so that's where you need your specific advice. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, join me every week at this time on this station. And if you miss any of today's show, you missed any of today's show or any other shows that we do, check out pagasleaseattorney.com. Check out pipelineattorney.com. We'll have this show up available Monday morning, and we index the shows by topic so you can check out the show that you're interested in. There's also a search feature on the website that allows you to type in keywords, maybe pipeline agreements, maybe royalty issues, deductions, selling gas rights, whatever the case may be. You can go search a topic and you can find radio shows and also other sections of the websites dealing with those shows. Use the websites as a resource, as an educational tool, whether you're looking for representation or not. And again, I try not to go super commercial in the show, but there's commercials at the breaks. But I want to say, again, I can't recommend enough, and I'm just going to do it because I think so much I believe it, that you would do yourself a great service and favor. If you give us a call, if you're considering signing anything, at least do a review and consultation. And if you're getting a pipeline right-of-way agreement, before you go too deep, get a review and consultation. Then decide what you want to do. They take typically an hour or two, and we have outstanding feedback. So it's just another way. So don't be afraid of this incredible investment and be fearful. We need to protect your rights. We need to make sure that you're getting the proper leverage assessment. We need to make sure that you know that you don't have to sign in most cases, in almost all cases. First off, you don't have to sign a pipeline right-of-way agreement. I don't think you ever do, really. So if they have the power under the lease, then okay, well, maybe it isn't the worst thing. Use the lease. Very rarely will companies do that. They can and sometimes do, but it's rare. It's not common. They want you to think it happens all the time, but it's just not the case. So we need to make sure that you know in most cases that I see, the landowner can say, thank you, but no thank you, or negotiate. You have to know what your rights are, whether you can decline it, whether the company we believe would ever push this agreement, which in most cases they won't, and your ability to negotiate higher compensation. I routinely am involved in cases, not, again, because I'm some kind of genius, but I'm involved in cases and have experience in past and working with companies where it's not uncommon to see offers jump by tens of thousands of dollars, and in cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not a guarantee in every case by any means, but it's something that does routinely occur in negotiations across Pennsylvania, where the royalty percent can be negotiated higher in many cases, the per acre bonus in many cases higher, not to mention much better addendum or additional terms to be added for the landowner. That happens routinely. Pipeline agreements start at $20,000, end at $100,000. Not every case, but you have to understand and know. You have to know. And as I say, look, whether it's me or someone else, but with me, go check out the websites. Go check out the testimonials written by the landowners. Go listen to prior radio shows. We're here for you, the Pennsylvania landowner. And too many people are being taken advantage of, in my opinion. And I don't know what the hesitation is, but I want to encourage. Now, look, we get plenty of calls, but I just want to encourage people. Don't be afraid to call the office. Learn more. If we are not right for you, then find somebody who is. Find someone who is. But please find someone, because too many people are signing really bad agreements. But if you sign a bad agreement and you understand it's a bad agreement, but there's reasons for you to sign it, I totally respect and understand that 100%. But what's happening is people are signing bad agreements, not understanding what their rights are, not understanding what their leverage is, not understanding in most cases they could simply say no thank you, but they feel pressured, they feel intimidated, they're lured in by promise of future riches. Please, we got to make sure the whole Pennsylvania is full of people who thought they were going to be millionaires by now, who are not millionaires by now, and in turn might be getting offers that are real bad offers, but think, okay, if I sign this bad offer, now I'll be a millionaire. Well, think about that. You don't get out of a problem or get out of something by doing something else that's bad for you. You don't get out of the hole by digging deeper. No, you don't say, hey, give me a shovel, let me dig deeper. Don't double down on bad deals. Don't double down on bad deals. Get the information. Again, I do these reviews and consultations all the time. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. Learn your rights. Put the pens down. Learn your rights. Oh, and two, do not be rushed. Don't be rushed. I started the show. I talked about a client of mine who signed a pipeline right-of-way agreement with a 15-month option. And the company acted like, literally, you thought they were Chicken Little. And you guys out there, you know, Chicken Little's been at your house many, many times. There's such a rush. We're in such a rush. We need to get this signed. Oh, by the way, we're in such a rush to have you sign a 10-year lease. Please hurry up. Here. Oh, by the way, I'm a notary. You can sign right here. Here we go. Hurry up and sign this 10-year lease. Oh, the sky is falling. We need this pipeline right-of-way agreement. Hurry. So, okay, here we are 15 months later. Yeah, we need another 2 years to extend. Well, how come there we were like 20 months ago and the sky was falling? You need to get this in right away. We're all going to be millionaires in this area. Now you need 3 more years, or 2 years, we'll say. So don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. Hurry up and sign. Yeah, don't talk to anyone who's going to educate you. Don't talk to an attorney. Don't get your own independent advice. Trust me. Yes, I work for the company, but trust me. You don't trust me. Come on. We know better. We got to do better. And it's about getting information to people. And that's what we want to do. We want to get you information that you can rely on for someone looking out for you. And whether it's me or somebody else, get someone who's looking out and working for you, the landowner, not the company, not the other side. Get someone working for you. I am Attorney Doug Clark. You're listening to All Things Marcellus. Join me every week at this time on this station. So, okay, I want to finish up again. I'm going to tell another story. Here we go. Holding the paper. I always like doing that, so I'm not lying to you. First, I'm never going to lie to you. So here's some paper. So client calls, and we do a review and consultation. They're about to sign an oil and gas lease. And so They're out. They happen to be out in the they're out in the western part of the state, western Pennsylvania, and they're getting close to sign this lease. Well, why are they getting close to sign this lease? Primarily. Oh, and by the way, it's not at the state minimum because virtually nobody offers that except for one company routinely. But anyway, they're close to signing this lease. Well, why are they close to signing the lease? Because for this particular landowner, something that was absolutely critical, fundamental, a non-starter, meaning they wouldn't negotiate anything if they could not get this term. And the term was, we want a lease that completely precludes you as a company from operating on our property, meaning that we want a lease that says you can't do anything on the surface of our property. No well pads, no access roads, no pipelines, nothing. Essentially, you can't set foot on our property. Now, they said, we will let you, we have no objection to seismic testing, but everything else is off the table. Landman says, okay, all right, good. So it comes back, get an offer, and this is what the client sent to me. And it has, I'm not going to read everything verbatim, but it has has two provisions in the offer. One provision is a water testing provision, which the company was going to do anyway, really is what I call a throwaway provision. The other one, it's very interesting, is what's called, remember I said the heading of royalty, no deductions? Well, here we go. This one says no surface use. No surface use. Okay, again, care who you are, no surface use means to me, okay, they're not going to use the surface of my property. That's what I wanted. Great news. So landowner says, I don't really trust these guys, so I want you to look at this and let's have a quick call, see what you think. So thankfully they did, because they said, yeah, well, we got this no surface use. Yeah, we're not crazy about a lot of other things, but because we have a no surface use provision, we are going to go ahead and we think we want to do this. So I go, all right, well, that sounds great. Let's check it out. So here's what we have. So under the heading, no surface use, it says that notwithstanding any provision contained in the lease to the contrary, meaning legalese, this takes precedent. This is what's going to control, despite what's said in the lease, that the company shall be prohibited from using the surface of the property, of this property, for any purposes other than, and it goes to seismic operations or surveying, and then it says, without the prior written consent of the landowner. So we can't do anything without the prior written consent of the landowner. That's what we want. Good. I mean, I might add a couple words, change a couple things, but overall, okay, that's what we want. But there's, too many times there's a but goes on to say, so without the prior written consent of the landowner, which consent may not be unreasonably withheld. That, ladies and gentlemen, just made this a surface agreement. Despite the heading saying no surface use, and despite the language saying that you can't go on the surface unless the landowner gives you written consent, you throw in a clause that destroys everything, that says which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld. So if they want to put a pipeline on your property, you say no, they say you're being unreasonable, and you can very well see a pipeline on the property. Same thing with a well pad, anything. So these landowners have these discussions, say, okay, we want this. Okay, here you go. That is not a no surface use agreement. In fact, it's a surface use agreement where you have some input, not complete power, but just some input. So beware of headings and be informed and be careful. It's occurring all the time. I see it all the time. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me right here every week at this time on this station. I'm going to leave you, as I always do, with a couple very strong reminders. Number one, the landman works for the gas and pipeline companies, not you, the landowner. Always remember that. And number two, please stop signing bad agreements. Get information, get educated. Information is available. We got to get this information out to you. We need to sign better agreements. Okay, I'm out of here. You listen again. Attorney Doug Clark, All Things Marcellus. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everyone.